everybody, welcome back to Marie's Kitchen. I'm so glad you're here. Today we are making a rustic fruit tart, which is basically a pie, but easier. And although we are making a crust from scratch today, you can always use a store-bought crust in a pinch. And real quick before we get started, we are almost to 100,000 subscribers here on Marie's Kitchen. I never thought we'd get this far. So if you're liking this channel, but you haven't subscribed yet, please do. It helps me so much. Also, if you like these videos, give us a like and then share with your friends. I really do appreciate y'all. All right, let's get started. First up, we'll make the crust. And my favorite way to make a pie crust is to use a food processor. And if you don't have a food processor, don't worry. I do have a tutorial for making a pie crust in a food processor, in a bowl with your hands, and in your KitchenAid stand mixer. So hop over to that video. It's called Easy Pie Crust Tutorial, and I show you how to make it each way there. And it's the same process regardless of what equipment you're using. Just one you're using your hands to cut up the butter, and one we're using the food processor blade. So either way works just as well. This is a little faster, I find, and a little easier on my hands, so I love to do it this way. In this recipe, we're gonna use 1 cup of self-rising flour. And within that is 1.5 teaspoons baking powder and 1/4 teaspoon salt. That comes in the flour already. So we've added that in there. Now we're going to use 1/2 cup, I'm sorry. Can you tell things are a little chaotic at home right now? My husband's father is in the hospital, and so everything is just chaotic and my mind is a blur. But we'll get through this together. So next is 1/4 cup all-purpose flour. Now, if you don't have self-rising flour, I'll have the conversions in my recipe. Just use 1¼ cup all-purpose flour plus the baking powder plus the salt. I'll have it all down below in the description box and in the recipe on my website. So don't worry about that. And you can always email me or comment below if you have questions. I'm happy to help. Now I'm gonna add 1/4 cup all-purpose flour. And then you can add anywhere from 1 to 2 tablespoons sugar. I like a little extra sugar in this crust. So that's all the dry ingredients we need for our crust. I'm just gonna give this a quick spin by using the pulse button. And this is a Cuisinart food processor. Really can't talk today. This is a Cuisinart food processor. And if you'd like one, I will put a link in the description box below. It's one of my favorite kitchen tools. I use it all the time. Next up is 1/2 cup or 1 stick, which is 113 grams of cold unsalted butter. And I do get a lot of questions from people saying, can we use salted butter? And usually that is fine, but in this case, because we already have 1/4 teaspoon salt in here, I don't want to be adding any more salt to it. So I do not recommend adding salted butter if you're using self-rising flour. So what I'm going to do is just cut this into about 8 tablespoons. It doesn't have to be exact. I know everybody says baking is an exact science, but you know, it actually doesn't have to be. It can be fun and easy, and that's always what I try to do on this show. So we're going to add our 8 pieces of butter into the food processor, close that, and give it a pulse. Now we'll add 5 tablespoons cold water. 1, 2, 3. I have to count out loud, otherwise I'll lose track. And now we're going to give this a mix. This looks great. We've got all different sizes of butter. If you can see in there, I don't know if the camera's focusing on it, but we're trying. Now, let me grab the saran wrap and I'll show you my next trick. So what I'm using is actually called Glad Press and Seal. There we go. Which is similar to saran wrap. It sounds different. Whenever I use it, people say, I don't think you're using saran wrap the way that sounds. It's similar to saran wrap, but it's a little easier to work with. If all you have is saran wrap or cling and seal or some version of this, that's fine. It's just a little, can be a little bit harder to work with. So this is the one I prefer. Anyway, we're gonna pull out a big piece of this. Sorry, that's loud. And then we'll flip it over and then grab our dough here. I'm gonna remove the blade first. That. And then if you see some really big pieces, you can push those between your fingers, just kind of mash them up a tiny bit more. But this looks good. Now what we'll do is take our pie crust and we're gonna give it just a quick flip right onto the press and seal. The purpose of this is to prevent you from having to put out flour, bring your dough together and make a big mess. This is a much easier, much cleaner, neater way to do this. And since I'm the one that cleans up after myself, I'm always looking for, you know, quick tricks to make things easier and less to clean up. All right, we'll flip this over. We will take the ends of the press and seal and we're just gonna pull this up together to make this into a round disc. So I press it down like that and then twist this top together and then press this into a round flat disc. And there you can see what a great pie crust this is. You can see all the little pieces of butter in there, so you know it's gonna be nice and flaky. We didn't over mix it. Now it immediately goes in the refrigerator for 20 minutes where it's gonna chill. It will let the gluten rest and will also chill the butter again so it's nice and hard. Now, moving on to the fruit. Today I'm going to use peaches and blackberries. You could mix that up with apricots and blueberries or plums or, you know, moving into fall fruits, lots of options there. And I'll have several in my recipe on my website, marieseva.com, so hop over there if you want to look for some ideas. And I'm always eager to hear what is your favorite combination. Leave that in the comments if you love to make a tart like this. What fruits do you use? So first up, we're going to use about 3 peaches, and I'll measure to be sure, but just going to slice these fairly thin. You certainly could peel the peaches, but I never do. I'm always just a little bit too lazy for that step. Sorry. This is a white flesh peach. It looks maybe a little bit too ripe, but I'm going to double check. We have so been enjoying these white fleshed peaches and nectarines this summer. They have been so incredible. Truly the best peaches I've ever had. So I like to throw one of those in just to mix up the flavor. The flavor's a little more floral, which is really nice. Oh, I love it. All right, time to roll out the crust. And I actually put my crust in the freezer for 10 minutes, in the fridge for 10 minutes, so total of 20 minutes, but I just wanted to get it nice and cold. At the same time, while you do want your crust cold, if it's so hard that it doesn't have any flexibility here, you need to let it warm up just a little bit or you won't be able to roll it out. It'll be like rolling out a rock. Okay, so we'll unwrap our dough. And then here I have a Silpat rolling mat. You can do it on your counter if you like. This makes it a little easier for cleanup. And so I'm just gonna put some flour on the mat. And if you are interested in the mat like this, I will put it in the description box below. I'll put a link to it. I do use this fairly often. Now we're just gonna take my hands and sort of press this into a bigger disc. And all that is just taking some of the work out of it. For myself, I'm just doing it with my hands rather than with the rolling pin. Now what you don't want to do is knead the dough in any way. That will start to develop the gluten and can make your crust really tough. So no kneading, I'm just pressing it out. A little bit on top there. So now we'll start to roll this out, and we're gonna roll it out to about 12 inches or 30 centimeters, and I don't usually measure, but just in case you're wondering, that's kind of where we're going. So to roll out, you want to roll, not pressing too hard, but kind of a firm press, and then you turn. And the reason you do that is because in case this gets stuck, you can throw a little flour underneath it, and that will prevent it from getting stuck. If you roll the whole thing without ever turning it, When you go to pick it up, there's a pretty good chance that it'll be stuck on your counter. And if it's stuck on your counter, trust me, I've taught a lot of pie crust classes, you'll have to pretty much ball it up and start over because it's really hard to get up off once it is stuck on the counter. So just remember to roll and turn, roll and turn. Just keeping this together. Roll and turn, and roll and turn. The other thing that rolling and turning does is it helps keep your crust in a nice round shape. If you just roll one direction, a lot of times you'll end up with an oblong crust. Nobody wants an oblong crust. I don't think I've used the word oblong since maybe like 5th grade math. Okay, got distracted there, forgot to turn it. Okay, so roll and turn. We'll keep rolling here. And turn. It's probably just about the right size. What do we have here? That is, oh my goodness, I'm good. That's exactly 12 inches wide. Or 30 centimeters. Good. Okay, we're just where we need to be. I might take it just a tiny bit bigger. Ooh, those big pieces of butter in there look so good. To say we did a good job, didn't we? Okay, you see those? I can zoom in. If you can't tell, I am the cameraman as well as his chef. We got a real lo-fi operation going over here. Okay, I'm gonna set that aside and grab a parchment lined baking sheet like this. And then what we can do is just fold this in half. Can you see that? Sorry, folded that in half. We're gonna move it up to our baking sheet and fold. Don't worry about a few cracks. If it tears, you can just press it back together. Now, quickly, let's grab our fruit because we want this to stay cold. If it's gonna take you some time to get the fruit together, this needs to go in the refrigerator to stay really cold. We have our peaches, and I'm gonna add anywhere from 2 to 4 tablespoons of powdered sugar. I'm just gonna do 2. These are already nice and sweet. And if you wanna just do fruit, no sugar, you can do that. I like using powdered sugar because it has a little bit of cornstarch in it. So that is gonna help absorb some juices so you're not getting so much juice that it's going out all over the pan. So that's why I'm using powdered sugar. If you don't have it, you can use granulated sugar just as well. And if you'd like to, you can add a teaspoon of cornstarch. Okay, now I'm gonna add just a little splash of almond extract. And another option would be vanilla, or you could do some lemon or lemon zest. Now I'll give this a toss. And I don't leave the fruit sitting in the sugar for a long time because that pulls out a lot of the juices. And then you have kind of a soupy mess when you're going into your crust. And so I really prefer to just add the sugar right before it goes in. It smells good with the almond extract. And that's ready. And if you're wondering where are the blackberries, don't worry, I'm adding those at the end. Okay, so now we'll put our peaches right here in the middle of our crust. And you don't want to overfill it. You want to make sure you have room along the side to fold up over it. You kind of mound it there in the middle. Now, to this, we'll add our blackberries, right? So I'm just going to add some blackberries right in there. Nestle those in. Aren't these pretty? I wish I lived in a place where we could go blackberry picking. I don't have this in Texas that I know of. We tried to grow some outside in our garden and they were so tart. We did enjoy the about 3 berries that we grew, but they were so tart, we didn't really feel motivated to do it again the next year. And the squirrels, of course, ate them too. So now it's time to fold this edge up over the fruit. You kind of want to encapsulate it all. Another word that I haven't used in a while, but seem to fit there. So all you're gonna do is take some of the crust and fold it up like this. And then where about here, see how it starts to kind of not fold completely up there? You're going to pleat that. Just fold it over like this. So again, where it ends there on the fold, my words today. Just watch what I'm doing. I'm gonna stop talking. How's that? I know many of you are relieved. Okay, really, I'm gonna stop talking. Okay. Fold that up. We'll fold this up. Pleat and pleat. See how rustic it is? Isn't that pretty? There is our rustic fruit tart. Looks lovely. Now what we'll do is we can do a little egg wash around it so it really sparkles. So we'll just crack one egg here. And give that a whisk. Now to that we'll add about 2 teaspoons of water just to thin it out a little bit. Whisk that. And then what I like to do with my egg wash, you don't have to, but I just like to, is to strain it. The egg is so kind of gooey. It can be hard to work with and you get kind of chunks of stuff. So I prefer just to strain it like that. And then you just have a real nice thin egg wash that goes on really well. So now we have a little pastry brush here. I can put a link to these in the description box. We actually got these for my daughter's birthday party last year as little party favors. And I had a bunch extra, so I have at least 5 of these. And they're really nice to have around. So there we go. And you can put a little egg wash under the pleats so they kind of glue together. What do you think? Is this easier than a pie? I have to say it really is. Something about it is just easier. I mean, it's still a pie crust and you still have the fruit filling, but it just seems easier. Okay, that looks great. Now let's take some sugar in the raw. Sugar in the raw is just like a coarse sanding sugar. And I just sprinkle that on the edges here like this. And that just gives a little extra sparkle and a little crunch, is really nice. Now we'll pop this in the oven at 375 degrees and bake for about 40 to 50 minutes or until the crust is golden and the fruit is bubbling. Real quick, while that's in the oven, I wanted to ask a question. I don't know if any of you guys are plant people. This is a plant, I'm gonna try to give you a close-up, that my grandmother grew, and then she broke off a piece and gave it to my mother. And then my mother broke off a piece when we moved into this house and gave me this vase, which was my grandmother, planted this little bit in there, and it's survived for 11 years now, and my mom has passed and my grandmother's passed. So this is a really, really special thing that I have, and I'm just wondering, why hasn't any other leaves grown? Is there something I'm doing wrong? It looks, fairly healthy overall. I just don't know why there's always just this one leaf here. And I was really hoping it would grow bigger like the plant my mom always had and like the plant my grandmother had. Maybe it's the vase that I'm using, I don't know. But if you know actually what this is, I've forgotten the name of it. If you know what it is and maybe how I can help it flourish better, would you leave a comment or send me an email, marie@marieseva.com. I would love to hear from you. And I just have a feeling some of you who are watching probably know the answer to this. So thank you so much. Okay, the tart is done. It looks great. The crust is nice and brown and golden. It's all sparkly with the sugar crystals on the outside. Now a little trick that you can do is take this parchment paper and just pull it right off onto a cutting board like that. And then if you want, you can even tear the parchment off. And you can actually slide that right out. But this looks amazing. It's so juicy. Wow. But the crust is nice and crisp. It cut really easily. Look how delicious that looks. Oh, I wish you were here. I wish my mom was here to enjoy it. She would love this. She loved peaches. Oh my goodness. Blackberry was good. It's not too sweet. The fruit flavor comes right through. Y'all have to try this one. I'm gonna get just a little bit of the crust, just plain, just so I can really, look at that. Doesn't that look delicious? So good. Flaky, tender. I can't wait for you to try this one. For this recipe and more, head over to my website, marieseba.com. There you can go and print out this recipe and all my recipes. Put them in a notebook, and if you like, make your very own Marie's Kitchen cookbook for free. Also, if you like this video, please give us a thumbs up. It means so much to me and also to YouTube. Also, leave me a comment and let me know what you think. Are you gonna try this one? Do you have any questions? I can't wait to hear from you. And finally, please subscribe if you haven't already. I'm really trying to get to 100,000 followers. That would be amazing. My kids helped me start this channel several years ago, and I don't think we ever thought we'd get to this point. So they're eagerly waiting to see if we can get to 100,000 followers. So hit that subscribe button, share it with a friend who might like it, share it on your Facebook page or whatever other pages people do these days, I don't know. And for sure, stay tuned. I have lots more recipes coming up with easy recipes just like this, and I don't want you to miss any of them. My goal is to give you some really easy recipes that turn out great every time so you can build some confidence in the kitchen and feel really inspired to share good food with people that you love. From my kitchen to yours, thank you.